All right. Pretty much following up from Tuesday. Let me move this. Moving from Tuesday, right? We saw, or pretty much what we acknowledged, right, was whether this entire leg was gonna break, right? So we came back, right? Gave even a kind of a sign of weakness, right? Not really a substantial though. But what we saw, right, was that H4 push or even M30 push here, right? They came back to mitigate something here in this wick, right? You got the reaction, right? Got the reaction, unwillingness, right? And then not a substantial low, but still considered, I guess, a BOS because it did not lead to a structure break. But we have to acknowledge too, right, our leg here, right? So as soon as we saw this corrective structure start to form, no substantial lows are created, but no substantial highs are created either, signifying a flag. Okay, so now that we're looking at these flags, or this flag essentially come, into play, it now fully takes out structure, right, creating new highs and lows, right? So we saw this on Friday, right? Pretty much not even due to NFP, it happened before NFP, right? But my issue with this is this, because of where this happened. Okay, so for example, we pointed out, right, this POI, pretty much the wick of this H4 here, I wanted to see either a rejection or, as you can see, a break. So the break to me signifies that there is no bearish order flow in play just yet, not fully, right? Even though we had the momentum, right, we still now have to acknowledge that even though, right, we saw pretty much a sign of bullishness here, we still have to acknowledge that we're still fully bearish, right? So when you acknowledge we're fully bearish, it's not just a matter of not wanting to pick this high and allowing us to either see some type of unwillingness, some type of break of structure, right? Because even though we've seen our lows start to break here, right? These are our intraday scales. So just because our minor intradays here are breaking does not mean our overall leg, right, is going to break, right? So it's just a matter of where we go as soon as market open occurs, because there's obviously 50% here. There's obviously inefficiency there, right? And when I'm comparing it to the entire scale, right, by this I mean structure points here, right, I'm now looking, right, at my discount, right? So there's a good chance we might not even get a discount, right? Because I wouldn't like to see this break fully, because then that means that I probably would not get a high here. So for the meanwhile, I'm not trying to assume a full-on break of structure, right? For now, I can only assume major intraday continuation here, right? Which is why I'm pointing out potential POIs. These over here, a bit deep for me. I really wouldn't want to see this break, right? I'll see this play as a type of turbulence point. Why? Because there was our pretty much optimism here that continued previous structure, right? But this is the catalyst that led to create this, right? So if we're coming back and we're meant to continue, right, then that means we're going to mitigate something, right, to then give higher pricing. But if we were to break, then that would create the unwillingness for me to continue higher. Why? Because we now have our catalyst, right, our pretty much our move, and we now have a release, right, meaning this is now essentially a move with purpose. But I cannot assume that because our overall is still bearish, right, but our midterm is still bullish, right? So these types of POIs usually will give you any type of reaction, right, or some type of reaction, right, as long as they're valid, because from what I can see, they're valid. You have inefficiency there and you have a potential candle there, right? So it's very tricky because easily, if we start coming down to these POIs, cool, I'm gonna see what reaction happens and then go from there, right? And if we just start coming back up, and now let's say London gives you some type of mitigation, then you could also see something like that, and that would now show, right, unwillingness there. But I do not have enough data to assume that, right? All I can assume now is that this can continue lower, right, and potentially hit a type of POI. Also something to note, right, like I said, I don't like how we broke the POI and then we came back to not even fill that inefficiency there, right, not even fully fill it. So it's like it's in a weird position because I do obviously see this type of candle here, right? I see a potential wick there, right? So in order for us to, for me to be comfortable with wanting to sell down here, right, I would prefer to see these POIs start being tapped, and also that would signify this, right? And where have we seen that before? There, right? Not the straightest line, but you get what I mean, right? We've seen that before. It could easily happen again, right? So even though we're seeing an impulsive move down, right, our structure for the medium term is still bullish, right? Same thing here, right? I don't like where this reacted from, right? You could say it reacted from this candle here, right? Yet our last push down, and that initiated this entire move up, right? Which could be the reason for the catalyst that even led to break this final leg out of the way. But I haven't actually broken down that candle. Okay, here. So, right, obviously this makes sense because this is where the final push down happens. So this could be a bigger time frame SC, which is that H4 candle we're talking about. Yeah. Right, so in confluence with that, you could even see, right, then this is the H4, you could even see this final push down wick here. Right, this could easily be a potential POI here. Why? Because this final wick here led to, I'm gonna take this line out, led to right, take out previous liquidity and then create an impulsive move, right? And this actually could have mitigated something here too. Something like that. Could say even filled inefficiency there to an extent. Filled 50% maybe. But anyways, that's the only thing that's interesting in this range. Right, if we go back to M30. Right, nothing else here is very interesting to me except maybe here. Right, but I'm not going to break this down unless I need to. Right, I'm just looking for reason to see if my overall bias is correct. Right, so we can very well see And is that where this hit? No, it isn't. Nope, it broke that. So because it broke this, it also inclines me to not want to believe this is going to be the start of the full-on move, right? Like I said, right, this could be the inverse of that turbulence point we saw in DXY, and we can easily come back into inefficiency here, inefficiency there, right, and continue lower. I just don't like how this, in order for this to happen, we have to break structure. So that means that a pullback, you'll get some type of reaction, and if this is going to continue lower, it's going to give you an unwillingness before you go down. It also depends on the momentum here, the structure here, etc., etc. But yeah, I'm not too bullish just yet unless we were to break up here, right? So you can see this as a decisive point, right, and whether or not price is going to continue or you pretty much break. Right, so it's pretty weird. It's I did not expect this whatsoever, right? And if you're looking at the daily closures here, right, that's a very strong daily candle there, right? You can see your open is there, right? Potential SC inside of this body, and that reacted perfectly. So, right, very well could be the start of that final move. I'm just saying I cannot assume that until we actually break a very major structure point, right? So from an intraday scale, this is still bearish, right? And we could even reach down here, right? But I cannot assume that, right, until we see what happens up here. All right, EG, another one, right? This one is pretty much finally playing out, right? After what, since September we've been wanting this to drop, right? Even this was since September, right? It only took about 5 months ish to finally drop, right? And it's giving us that sign finally, right? But this is a great example, right, of following based off overall narrative, right? Whereas we finally called this to be our UTAD, right? Unwillingness here being your LPSY, right? And our SOW, I'm sorry, isn't even until here. So we still have a lot of room to the downside, right? Because I could very well easily see, right, by the time that we reach here, who knows how long that will take, we could see a pretty much stallment before we continue, right? See kind of something like this. See something like this, right? If you look at the redistribution video, I'm pretty sure there's an example that looks just like this. We could easily see something like that here, right? So why do I say that too? What the hell is going on? All right, that's pretty much what I mean here. Right, that final release of supply, final release period, and it causes downside movement. Right, but that's just the overall picture, right? Looking at what actually happened. Right, as we said, right, without any proper structure break, we cannot assume a pullback here, right? So, right, our high created our low, high created our low, high created our low even here, right? This is pretty much the overall direction here, right? But as we essentially go into those lower time frame, right, pretty much the legs inside of these legs, right, different color, do red, right, high, that created our low, high, that created our low, right? This here did not create a low, right? Created unwillingness. So naturally, a high that does not create a low is liquidity, as you can see here, very specific to this pair, right? It's something you see that's different to every pair. I see this happen a lot more with EG, right? But what happened, right? Keep in mind our overall is bearish. I'm sorry, not there. Right, but our overall here, right, our range inside of our range is bearish as well, right? So just because this high did not work, unless we see a break of structure, we cannot assume bullishness. What is I don't even know what button I'm hitting to do that. Okay. So as we interpret this range, right, this is now seen liquidity, right? So liquidity is taken, right? Then we led to a scalping break of structure, a very clear sign of intent here. Why? Because our final leg was broken here, and even this started to be challenged, right? But because momentum is now stronger here, based on the reaction here, you can assume bearish movement. Why? Because you also have a previous high here, liquidity was taken, structure break here, right? You could easily see a potential 50% there, right? With my point of invalidation being here. So realistically, my trade is there, right? This happened right, pretty much a bit after I woke up. I mean, a bit before I woke up, right? But anyways, here, right, your initial target is already in a sure 10-1, right? Whereas that continued for over 20 and at 19, right? You could have easily broken even after you broke this previous low or previous final leg, right? Why? Because if you're taking your entry here, naturally, right, a low that does not create a new high becomes liquidity, which as you can see here, right? So it does not mean you have to partial out, right? If now you just understood that you just caught a reversal, right, based on the narrative of taking liquidity and breaking structure. Right, so right, it just makes a lot of sense. Right, although the speed was probably a news catalyst, right, the technicals will always line up. Well, I'll say 95% of the time. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, it was. But yeah, I mean, other than that, GU has been a mess, right? I know Harris sent me a chart about that, right? And he told me pretty much I'll even go to H12 here, H8. That you could easily see, I believe he said it was, right, well, let's actually start from here. All right, previous high there, range there, range there, right? And we can easily see that range there, right? That's what he meant. Oh, that's what he showed me. And I might get too messy, but it makes sense, right? Because it shows that even though we're seeing these, you know, pretty decent pullbacks, you're still in overall picture bullish. And that's the thing with these GBPs, like, if you notice, right? These flags usually never work. This is also why I don't trade that scam 4, right? Scam 3. It doesn't follow the ideology of what I was taught when I was, or not even what I was taught, what I was just researching, right? It doesn't make sense for me to want to believe this here is a schematic, which then gives here, right? From everything that I've seen, everything that I've studied, that does not make sense, right? It's why I don't trade it. I sent you the PDF so you could look at it, right? Because maybe you could see something that I don't see, but I don't see enough consistency with it to consider it even a Wyckoff schematic. Alt. Damn. You see, the Magic Keyboard doesn't have an Alt button, bro. Command R makes me refresh. Where it says, type the name of a program, folder, document, internet source. Yeah. Option R. That doesn't do anything. That's weird. I have to look at the commands. Well, yeah, other than that, pretty weird week. I just hope this finally pops up. You know, we've already taken out major structural highs here, right? Because we've been bullish since like pretty much around here. Right, and now is when we can finally start seeing either this be hit or this up here. Yeah, that is weird. Wait, other than that, do you guys have any questions? Any questions? Let's see. Who's on the call today? Would you recommend trading London? That's up to you. Depends where you live, how you sleep, how much you sleep. That daily open on EU is nice. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, but there is no session that gives you the best entries 100%. Yeah, you could. Not based on this time frame, but look. You mean here? No, I wouldn't consider that equal highs, actually. If it was with this high, yeah. Right, because let's break this down here. This high, is this where... Is this where we reacted? If that's where we reacted from, right? No, it's not where we reacted from. Yeah, I would not consider that equal highs. I wouldn't even consider this to be a mitigation. Right, but this is a good sign for the overall scale though, right? This didn't mitigate anything, meaning there's no present bearish order flow, right? So that just shows that the liquidity is eventually taken, right? Because usually when you see order flow, right, you see clean mitigations, right? Pretty much push down, mitigation. You usually see pretty clean mitigations to continue any type of direction, right? So as you can see there, we reacted from nowhere, right? So there's no bearish order flow inciting bearish continuation, right? Which signifies that we did not create a new low. Unwillingness, take the liquidity, then we mitigate, bearish order flow intact. Is the number to feel overwhelmed? Oh, 100%. Yeah, bro, this is gonna take a long, yeah. If you don't even have a smart money concept prerequisite, then it's gonna be pretty overwhelming. Like Christian, yeah, like as Christian said, he came from pretty much trading a typical, or not a typical, but pretty much a regular type of forex trading plan. Yeah, fibs, trend lines, EMAs. That's where it comes from. So transitioning is a bit hard and it takes time. My only issue with trend lines is I don't like looking at the market diagonally. I like looking at it horizontally, right? To signify strong legs. Right? Yeah, looking at it diagonally is very subjective. And I've said that since even before RCV launched. Because I pretty much, I got rid of trend lines as a whole. When was this? I want to say like August of 2019. I just completely scrapped them. And I started looking at things horizontally and not diagonally. Yeah, so there's always two options. You could either scrap everything or you could implement whatever you like here, right? And then build on it over time. Something cool too that you can reset your mind with is just don't look at charts, don't think about charts, just quit it for like a week, 2 weeks, and you'll probably come back brand new. Allows you to be very objective. Trading London and New York is like trading 9 to 5 for me. Okay, well then find your pairs and execute when you believe or what you've researched is the best time to trade him. But yeah, other than that, do you guys have any questions? AUD JPY is nice in Asia. Yeah, there's definitely pairs that move nice in Asia. There's most definitely. AUDs, NZDs. Majority of the time, that's not absolute, bro. I just think of it from a logical standpoint, like what we spoke on here, right? Making it make sense, right? Actually, 15 is fine, right? If I'm looking at this overall leg, right, in order for order flow to be on my side, right, I have to be mitigating consistently to the downside and creating substantially new lows, right? So, right, if this is our overall leg, then these are the legs inside of those legs. Why? Because they broke structure substantially. And even though the momentum is not on its side, right, you can still see that the direction is clear, right? So this is also why I don't trade like bull flags or bear flags or anything like that. Right? I don't like to, right? Especially when they're structured like this, right? So we have our pullback, right? If we do not create a new low, right, then we have unwillingness. So naturally, if we have unwillingness here, what's gonna happen, right? We're not showing bearish continuation, so naturally our high needs to be taken out, right? But why did we continue lower? Because we led into a liquidity grab, right? We took out previous high, then broke structure, then mitigated, right? Inciting bearish order flow, right? And keep in mind, this entire scenario happened in your structural range here. You see what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, you see, yeah. That's, yeah. See, like, look at this right here. This is why I don't like looking at things diagonally, because look, when I look at it diagonally, you see? How does that make sense? Right, so stop looking at it from a diagonal point of view. Oops, that's terrible. Stop looking at it from a diagonal point of view and look at it from a horizontal point of view. Right, and these are all the ranges that I see in play. Right, if you know your structure, break and retest is the easiest way to trade. Not even gonna lie about that. That's why I don't shit on it. If you can understand structure, you can trade pretty much any type of method. As long as there's logic to it, of course. Right, so this isn't me shitting on trend lines. They just don't make sense to me. You see, like, this would have been a buy here. People who trade like this, break of trend line, SL here. You see what I mean? That's why you must be able to read structure. Yeah, but even these low RR methods are actually very, very good. Why? Because usually, especially if you trade like this, if your SLs are bigger, you could probably risk more. For example, if you get a 1 to 5 and you risk 3%, that's 15%, you know? Right? Or after partials, it'll be like 10 to 12. Right? But you'll still get your earnings with being conservative, right, in every way possible, which is with SL and obviously with full confirmation. That's why I don't shit on different ideologies, methods anymore. My birthday's in April. Turned 22 in April. $22 so young, yeah, I guess. But yeah, other than that, do you guys have any more questions? Bro, a good chunk of the group is older than me. I'd say like 25% of RCV is older than me. When you saving that mustache, I already shaved it. You dirty. Yeah, we have a couple young guys here. I like that we have a couple young guys. Guillaume is 30, bro, but you're like in the shape of a 22-year-old. I'll pass you as 22, bro. I've noticed that a lot of the older people too catch on a lot quicker. I don't know why that is. Yeah, Neil is killing it. Who's the oldest? I mean, you're like 50, right? Because you talk like an old timer. Yeah, cool. Are we clear though? Yeah, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to end it here. I do have to respond to a couple of DMs. All right, so while I'm uploading it, I'll probably be doing that. Cool, cool. All right, guys, let me know if you guys have any questions. And if not, I'll see you on Tuesday.